I love superheroes, like I said. I love comics. I love science fiction. That's very evident in my art. I just wanted to write somebody that a woman today might relate to.
Well, hello and welcome back to Uncorking a Story. I'm your host, Mike Carlin, and today I'm excited to introduce you to Caitlin Grabenstein. But before I do, I want to expand on a theme that started with last week's episode with Jerry Jameson, and that is reinvention. I've been able to reinvent myself countless times over my professional career, and recently I've done so as a writer. For years, my writing leaned heavily in comedy. I should say on comedy. Humor was my comfort zone. It let me connect with readers, and honestly, it was easy for me to hide behind a punchline, hide real emotions that I'm feeling. Over time, though, I did feel compelled to explore a different side of myself, and one that was, more personal, more spiritual, required a tremendous amount of vulnerability for me. And making that pivot wasn't easy. It came with risks. Would people like the funny guy, who wrote, these crazy stories? Would they take a Mitch Albom type book from him? Remained to be seen. And I didn't know that I could pull it off, but I did. The Waiting Room, which is my most recent novel, has done very well, and I'm very blessed and grateful for all of you who have bought it and read it and left a review, because it really did explore a side of myself that I was very hesitant to show, but it felt natural and it felt right. And this made me realize one thing, that as writers, as artists, if we're not challenging ourselves, if we're not growing, then kind of what's the point? Think about bands that you loved when you were younger and who are still relevant today. They probably sound a lot different than they did back then when you were first listening to them. My go-to example for this is U2. They started out in the 70s as kind of punk adjacent. Then they did rock, they did pop, they were kind of experimental. You could use the word alternative, whatever you want to call it. But they're still making music today, from the late 70s, the Boy album to the most recent album. It doesn't sound like the same band, but that music today is still good. They're still making music that people want to listen to, and that's because they've always reinvented themselves. They've been able to stay relevant. And my guest today, Caitlin, knows something about reinvention. Her creative journey has taken her from writing music to creating surreal collage art, and now it's taken her to a debut sci-fi thriller, One Red Arrow, Part 1. So each chapter of her career has required her to stretch, to experiment, and to embrace the unknown. And as we'll hear, she's managed to stay true to her creative voice while continuing to evolve as an artist. So, without further ado, here is my conversation with Caitlin Grabenstein. Caitlin Grabenstein is an author and artist based in Connecticut. She's the creator of the surreal collage art behind At Cult Class, with work commissioned by global names such as Netflix, Adobe, Glamour, Porsche, and more. Caitlin's stories are fueled by her love of science fiction and inspired by the outdoors. She joins me today on Uncorking a Story to talk about her debut novel, One Red Arrow Part 1. Welcome to Uncorking a Story, Caitlin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Excited to have you, Caitlin. I'm curious, where does your story as an author begin?
That is like a great question. My story as an author really begins, I guess, when I was younger. I mean, I've always been writing in some capacity. I wrote music for a very long time. I think that is a part of it. And then I kind of transitioned to visual art as for like an outlet. And then a few years ago, I just had this story in my mind that I wanted to write. And so it's taken me 3 years to write. And I really love superheroes and Wonder Woman. Obviously, she's behind me. And so I just wanted to write a superhero story that I was proud of and that I really enjoyed. And so I continued doing my visual art, but I also did this in my spare time in the mornings and late at night, and so that's how I got One Red Arrow.
Well, I'm going to dig into One Red Arrow more in a moment, but I have to ask, what kind of music were you writing?
Folk music. I love folk music, like old school, like Joni Mitchell, Cat Stevens, stuff like that. And then I was into like indie, Bon Iver and that kind of stuff. So just acoustic, folk, indie stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, that my name Cult Class that I make my art under came from the music duo that I was singing music in for a couple of years ago. So
very cool. Very cool. You mentioned together. Yeah, you mentioned Cat Stevens. I think he's coming around at some point this year. I think he's on like a small tour or something.
It's so funny you say that because my mom texted me and was like, do you want to get tickets to Cat Stevens? He's coming to Manhattan, but the tickets are like astronomical. I mean, but he is on tour. And I was like, it's like $2,000 or something for
oh my gosh.
Those leads. So I was like,
oh, that's terrible.
I know. I was like, I would love to see Cat Stevens, but maybe not this go around. Although,
yeah, I think I'll just put T for the Tillerman on and save a couple bucks.
Exactly.
But did you watch Ted Lasso by any chance?
I watched the first season.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't want to spoil anything, but the series ends, well, theoretically, because they're talking about a fourth season now, but the series technically ended with a Cat Stevens song. They played father and son to close out the show, and I was bawling like a little baby.
That I don't mean to laugh. It's like I laugh because I can relate to that so much. It's like my husband, certain songs come on and I just start crying, and he's like, "What's happening right now?" And it's like, this is just one of my favorite movies ever is Harold and Maude, which
sure, yeah,
Cat Stevens wrote the whole soundtrack, and so it's just very moving. That's a wonderful song, and I'll have to watch Ted Lasso now.
That was the movie where you had like a young guy who had like this really special friendship with an older woman, but he try and kill himself like throughout the entire movie. It wasn't like that part of the movie.
Yeah, he like constantly jokingly kills himself, which is not a great joke. And he falls in love with this woman who is much older than him. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it's kind of his way out of depression and her way of coping with things, and it's a really beautiful movie.
Yeah, I mean it's
an oddball movie, but it's good.
Definitely an oddball. I don't know that it would fly today with all that, sort of making suicide kind of like, I don't want to say making light of suicide, but it certainly was a movie of its time.
I know. When I said he jokingly tries to kill himself several times, as I said it, I was like, nobody would go for that right now.
I don't think that script's getting read, but yeah. But back in the day. So now this calling you felt to transition, well, not transition from like visual medium, because I know you're still doing art, but it sounds like you felt called towards writing a book or writing the story anyway. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think I wanted to write a character that was, so I love superheroes. Like I said, I love comics. I love science fiction. That's very evident in my art and my overall interests. And I wanted to write a character who was a relatable superhero, because I love Wonder Woman, like I said, but she's a god. Superman is an alien. I just wanted to write somebody that a woman today might relate to, who's a person. And so, and I guess in writing this character, I also wanted to write somebody who was, multidimensional. I feel like a lot of things are put into camps these days, and she's a bow hunter, but she's also an artist. And the character has a lot of different interests, and I just don't feel like you can put her into a box, which is nice, because again, I feel like typically superheroes and comics follow a certain path, so I tried to write something different.
Yeah. You talk about superheroes and relatable superheroes. How familiar, if at all, are you with the classic 80s TV show, The Greatest American Hero?
I'm not familiar at all. with
Oh,
that.
that's a 0 out of 10. Oh my gosh. So if you go, your homework admission, should you choose to accept, is to find, I don't know what streaming service it's going to be on, but just do a little Our Lady of Google search and look up The Greatest American Hero, because that's, the whole premise is, this guy, Ralph Hinckley, immortalized by William Catt, who you might remember from the movie Carrie. But he gets abducted by aliens and they give him like a super suit, but he loses the instructions. So like the whole series is like him like as this superhero guy, but not knowing what to do because he doesn't know how to use his suit. It's, it's again a show of its time, but it's got the wonderful Robert Culp in it as well. If you've ever watched any Columbos, he was in a couple Columbos, probably 5.
I've never heard of this, but I feel like I would like it just based on what you described. So
no, it's a thing. I remember like when it debuted, it was probably in 82, maybe 83. They had like a 2-hour series premiere, and my parents made us go to bed early because it was going on like past 9 o'clock, and I was young at the time, and my brother and I were like so bummed because we couldn't finish the that was just so cruel. So cruel. Bedtimes are cruel for kids.
They are. Did you pop in the VHS back then and record? That's what we used to.
I don't think we had a VHS back then. Our VHS may have come a little bit later. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out.
All right. So what else can you share with us about the plot of One Red Arrow Part 1? I know we can't give too much away. The book's not even out yet, but it will be out by the time this is released. So what can you share? What more can you share with us about the book?
So the book is, it's a sci-fi thriller, and it opens with a hunter he goes missing in the woods for 3 days, and there's a search party looking for him. And when they're searching for him, they find his gun, and it is melted, or the metal of the gun is melted, only the metal. And then next to the metal of the gun is a 3-foot-ish size bird print on the ground. Very clearly looks like a bird, talons, walking away from the gun. When they look up, they see the hunter. His name is Johnny Langley. He has reappeared. He's on the edge of the woods, and he's hysterical, laughing hysterically, out of his mind, looks disheveled. Something has gone wrong. This is back in 1989. That's the opening scene of the book. Fast forward to 2024. McQuinn is the main character, and she is sitting up in a tree stand hunting on the first week of November, which is traditionally one of the best weeks to hunt because it is the whitetail rut. For anybody who isn't familiar with hunting, that's just when deer kind of go crazy, and big deer will come out. It's like when they run in front of your car, it's just a really good time to hunt. So Kay McQuinn's out in the woods, sitting in a tree. And for anybody who's not familiar with that, is you climb a ladder, you sit in a tree, and you wait, and she has her bow and arrow. And while she's waiting, she uses her binoculars to look through the woods, and she sees something in the pine trees on the horizon. Mind you, she is sitting on the same land that hunter went missing on several years before. And that's all I want to say. And now I don't want to say.
No, that's good. That's good. We can't give too much away, but you did tip your hat a little bit that there's a relatable female superhero.
Yes.
So we could. I'm going to put 2 and 2 together and say that somebody got some super duper powers there.
Yes. So right. So it evolves, but you don't know how and you don't know what happens. But it evolves. She sees this creature, and then things evolve from there.
And we'll keep the mystery going, but it definitely sounds X-Files Monster of the Week worthy for me.
It is a creature feature 100%. It is a creature feature. It is not just, it's superheroes, but there's a lot more to it. There's crime, there's different stuff going on. It takes place in Owlsbourne, Connecticut. That's the fictional town that I created. I sort of had like different Connecticut towns in mind, like Madison, Connecticut, or fictional ones like Stars Hollow. So it's very New Englandy in the fall, which is my favorite time of year here. And that's what happens.
Yeah, I think the fall is the only reason to live in Connecticut, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
taxes aren't great, cost of living isn't fantastic, but hey, the fall is really nice.
Fall is really nice. There are a lot of nice little festivals and stuff in the fall. And then the winter's terrible. But then the spring eventually comes. That's pretty much
it. It does come. It does come. I'm curious, where did your fascination, because I was on your Instagram page earlier, where does your fascination with aliens come from?
That's a great question. I wonder that myself, honestly. I used to watch shows with my dad, late at night on History Channel and stuff. I don't even know if it was History Channel at the time. It was probably some obscure channel that we would watch things. Now it's become so mainstream. But, back then it was like Joe Bob in the woods talking about how he saw a light, and it was like this really obscure show that we would my dad would find all kinds of stuff for us to watch. So I always enjoyed that stuff. I like the idea of what's beyond Earth and what's beyond us. And then in my art, I think it represents just the unknown, and that's something I really enjoy thinking about, but also using as a tool in like the messaging through my art, because oftentimes in my art, and maybe in this book, there's something surreal like that, or something a little scary, and then people kind of living their life like we do. So that's just something I like to depict a lot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some of your work could have been on Fox Mulder's wall in the X-Files. I mean, there's I don't know if you know David Duchovny personally, but maybe, if they ever resurrect the X-Files, you could, reach out to him or Chris Carter and see if, do a little set work or something.
That would be that's like one of the best compliments I've ever gotten, because that would be a dream come true. Like for them to pan Fox, his new office in their new episodes that I'm making up right now, and my art's just on his walls, which I think actually would fit quite well. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they should do it. We'll just manifest that. We'll manifest that for you.
That's right.
I'm curious, when you were growing up, like who were some of your favorite superheroes? Like what were your who were your go-tos? I mean, clearly Wonder Woman. I see her over your shoulder, but who besides Wonder Woman?
I have a tattoo of Wonder Woman too. She's with an eagle. It's very American. It's very.
Now, which Wonder Woman is it? Is it Linda Carter, or is it
like one we made up? The tattoo artist made up. He drew up like a whole different one. But Wonder Woman, and I'm a big Batman fan. Though pretty much, I love the ideation behind any characters. It doesn't have to be superheroes. I have this whole office is full. My whole office is full of artwork and figures, and there's xenomorphs. There's everything, because I just think it's incredible when people create stories and characters, and the art that goes behind, particularly comics, is really impressive to me. So I like a lot of different heroes and a lot of different characters, but Batman is top. Batman and Wonder Woman are top.
Do you have a favorite depiction of Batman? If we go back to Adam West all the way through, I don't even know who's the guy from Twilight who was our last Batman.
Oh my gosh, what's his name?
Robert Pattinson.
Thank you. Yes.
And everybody in between. You've got Val Kilmer, you've got George Clooney, you've got Michael Keaton, you've got the big guy. Blanking on his name. Not Ben. Was it Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck is in there too. No, I was thinking of
who is my favorite though is
the one from the Nolan films.
Right. Oh my gosh, he's like one of my favorite actors. Whatever his name is.
Yeah, that guy. He played a serial killer in that other movie.
Like one of the best actors. He played he's in The Machinist. Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. That's him.
Hands down, my favorite Batman. The Dark Knight series, those 3 movies, hands down my favorite. I rewatch them a lot. Obviously, the Joker in that is like one of the best villains as well, I think. So,
oh, yeah.
He's actually, I have no villains in my office, really. I mean, I have Scream behind me, but I mean superhero. But I do have a Joker, that Joker specifically, just because I think he's so great. But rest in peace.
So we got Wonder Woman, we got Batman, a lot of DC there. And did Marvel ever tickle your fancy at all?
No, Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. I don't know. Like they do. I have Marvel stuff. I think DC's a little grittier. Yeah, I have Harley Quinn too. I love Harley Quinn. DC's a little grittier, so I think it's always been a little more my lane. But I like Marvel too. Again, I love. I will always respect anybody who creates anything. First of all, and then any of these storylines and characters I think are amazing. So I love Marvel, but DC is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I think DC is definitely usually darker, right? They always have a darker or grittiness about them. But I have to admit something which is somewhat controversial, especially with my kids. I am tired of the superhero movies. Like there's just too many. I think we're just oversaturated. Like it's too much. It's too much. Why do we need so many superhero movies?
I agree with that. And I also think there's something lost when there aren't a lot of movies. Like Unbreakable stands out in my head as like one of the best not superhero movies. And it's like I think my inspiration again behind the story too is not again, but well, more inspiration is that as well. Is like I feel especially like a lot of Marvel movies follow a certain arc. A lot of the superhero stories follow a certain arc, and it's like you almost watch it and know exactly what's going to happen in the first 5 minutes, and it's like a 2.5 hour movie, you know. And so I don't want to say I'm sick of them because I love them, but there's no like dimension. Like I wish there were a little more. There's a little more going on. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, a little more depth, maybe.
Depth and diversity in storyline. I mean, I'm not. It just feels the same, and so I think that was another thing that propelled me to write this. And again, it's not just a superhero story, but I think that's important because just the superhero stories get stale, you know? In the origin story, the same kind of origin stories and the same kind of, they're fighting the evil villain and the same kind of person and it's a god and it's an alien and it's just not very relatable and it gets kind of stale. I love them.
Yeah, well,
if Marvel ever listens to this or DC, I love you, but you know. That's how I feel.
Well, I think the thing is like it's very action oriented, right? But it sounds like what you've written is a little bit more mystery. It's maybe a little bit more thriller. So not in your typical, genre for the old, superhero save the day type thing.
Exactly. And I think in this, the main character in the beginning deals with a lot of like depression, anxiety. I mean, I think things that every human on the planet can relate to. And I know that comes about in some movies a bit, but I think it's important to delve deeper into the psyche and what it is to be human and then what it is to change and be different and be better or be worse or choose to be a villain. I mean, but what goes on up in someone's head too. Beyond the traditional stories that we're talking about.
Absolutely. It gives your characters a little bit more depth as well. Now, I'm curious, you said this book took about 3 years for you to write. What was the most challenging part of the writing process for you? And actually, how would you characterize the writing process overall?
It's so hard. It was so much harder. Every book I've ever read, every author, every writer, every TV show and screenplay that I see, I respect so much because it is very difficult to put together a plot line that makes sense and tie all the loose ends together neatly. It was harder than I thought, but writing is cathartic. I mean, the creative aspect of it is nice. I enjoyed writing it, but you want to do it right and you want to do it justice. And it's such a big project compared to like making a piece of art. Like for me, making a visual piece of art is, it's not easy. It'll take hours. This book took years. Like it'll take hours and I'll make something that I'm very proud of. But it's a quick turnaround compared to a book. It's also a quick turnaround as far as consuming it. Like giving this book to people and having them read it right now is like the most agonizing thing of my life because it takes them time to read it. I show somebody a piece of art and I instantly know if they like it or they don't like it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's the thing about writing, especially long form. It's people, first of all, they say they're going to read it, and how, a lot of people don't read.
Right.
And it takes the time. And then, but that's what, like, I used to do a lot of stand-up comedy, because a lot of the stuff that I've written in the past has been, very comedic. So I always want to know, okay, are people laughing? Are they laughing at the right stuff? And you don't know that because you're not with them when they're reading.
Yeah.
It would be interesting and maybe somewhat creepy to be there when they're reading, but when I go on stage and I tell a joke, I know immediately if it works or if it doesn't work, right? If people aren't laughing, it doesn't work. If people are laughing, hey, maybe there's something there. So the feedback you get is less immediate.
Like, just because that's exactly where I'm at right now. It's very relatable, and I very much appreciate that, because I've just said to my husband today, it's like all the control is gone. It's just gone. And you don't know if people are reading the words right. You don't know if they're hearing the voice of the character in their head right, the way you want it to be done, they just don't know.
Did you go through like traditional did you attempt to go through traditional channels to get this published? Did you do the agent query thing and go through that immense level of vulnerability and rejection, or did you did you bypass that altogether?
No, I did not do that. I did none of that. I wanted to do it all on my own. I did do a Kickstarter, and so this was funded through a Kickstarter. And then I funded. There will be an audio book on Audible. It's going through ACX right now, so figuring that out. But no, I just independently did everything. I couldn't tell you why, really. I just wanted to get the story out there, and I wanted full control. And so I thought, why not?
Yeah, well, I mean, that gives you ultimate control, right? It gives you ultimate control. You don't have to hear no 1,000 times. Although you have a pretty strong platform to begin with. So that certainly gives you a leg up that most first-time authors, don't have, which is the biggest... the biggest piece of feedback. You could write a really great story, and an agent could be like, yeah, your platform isn't big enough, because publishers only want people who have like a solid following. But if this is your first thing, then how do you get the following? So there really is a catch-22 there for many people. You're somewhat unique in that regard, but really you do give up a ton of control, whether it's pricing, distribution, artwork, royalty rates. If you can be really successful independently publishing, you'll earn more than you will doing it through a traditional channel.
And the art was really important. There's art within the book too. I had a friend draw a map of Owlsbourne, and there's art ahead of each chapter, and the cover art is really important to me, like designing that. So but it's funny you say that about the platform thing, because that is an important thing to not only publishers. Like when I reach out to a lot of just businesses for different things, it's like, it's all about the platform, but it's like, how does somebody who's just starting out even create that platform? Especially if you're not doing something like I'm doing. Like I have the benefit of doing art. So I have a very visual, like I can gain followers through my art. It's hard to get yourself out there with a book because it's not visual. And so you have to come up with some creative way to read the book on TikTok or something, like some way that people follow you so you can get followers, so that somebody wants to publish you. It is a catch-22. So not for the, faint of heart.
Yeah.
Work.
And that it opens you up to a whole new level of vulnerability, when you're promoting yourself on social, especially on TikTok. Like I that's certainly something I haven't mastered. It's also generational. But writing itself is one of the key ingredients is your openness to vulnerability, because people are going to be reading, you leave parts of yourself on the page, even if it's fiction. You're still divulging something about you, and you obviously think that it's good enough to put out there. So, you have to be prepared for some people to question it or not to like it or to criticize it. And, unfortunately that's all part of the process, and that happens. And then when you promote it, it's like, a lot of authors, tend to be more introverted type people, and trying to go on and like, trying to build a social media, platform is antithetical, let's say, to personality types.
Yes, it is. It's not fun to promote yourself pretty much ever anyway, and you have to do it. And then it's funny that you say it's very vulnerable. It's not funny, it's accurate, because again, I was saying this today. It's like, if somebody looks at my art, they look at it, and if they like it or they don't like it, I don't have to know. Like, the end of sentence. Maybe they buy something from me, maybe they don't. With this book, there's Goodreads, there's Amazon, there's all these review platforms that you need the reviews. But you also, like, I don't really want to know if people liked it or did like, it's like, I don't really want reviews, because it's so vulnerable. And then it's tough, the internet's tough. It's a tough place to come up with like catchy reels and stuff like that. I've been doing that a lot because I'm promoting it and publishing it myself. So it's like, what works, what doesn't. A lot of things don't work. There's a lot of trolls on the internet.
So many. It
becomes a very dicey process.
Well, there's trolls, and then what you'll find is there are people trying to take advantage of you, trying to tell you how they can help you sell more copies, or, just how they can help you with your social media video production and blah, blah, blah.
I've caught that with
it's
that's funny to just that you said that, because I get like these accounts that'll message me and be like, "Oh, I'm a certified whatever reviewer, and for this small fee, I'll review your book, and I'll get other places to review your book." And I mean, it's all scammy, but they're trying to scam you. I mean, maybe they're winning, but taking advantage is a good way to say it.
Oh yeah, we gotta watch out for them, and never, do business with anybody who says they're going to pay for reviews or promise you a bunch of followers or anything like that.
No.
They're crooks, as my father would say.
That's exactly right.
So, Caitlin, I'm sure we've piqued the interest of some listeners here. Where can people learn more about you? Are you active on social media?
Yes, I am on Instagram at cult.class, cult as in C-U-L-T, .class, C-L-A-S-S. And then I'm on Facebook under my own name, Caitlin Grabenstein. And those are the two best places to find me, for sure.
I will put a link to your profiles in our show notes, so people can find you nice and easily. And Caitlin, I will say thank you for stopping by Uncorking a Story and letting me uncork yours.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Uncorking a Story. If you'd like more information about today's guest or to find out more about Mike, go to uncorkingastory.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in every week to hear Mike Carlin uncork a new story.